Hi, it's Cayman Reynolds. Welcome back to Beekeeping 101, and I'm ready to add some space to these hives right here. So in this video, we're going to be adding space. We're going to talk about how to use smoke on the bees properly. We're also going to talk about some seasonal conditions and how I weed around the hives and a few other details. So let's start with inspecting the bees and adding the space. So first things first, we need to talk about the smoker, because before we start adding space, we have to smoke the bees. So right now it's fairly cool. There's not a lot of bees on the outside. If you start seeing a bunch of bees on the box and right here, especially if it's in a full sun area and it's very hot, that's called bearding. It's okay. That doesn't mean that your bees are swarming, but in either case, there's a few guard bees right here, and we just want to take a little bit of smoke and get these entrances. It doesn't take much. Now, you don't want to be pushing it into the hive. We don't want to be sitting here blowing smoke, because that's going to run all the bees around. It's going to disrupt what the colony is doing. It's also going to push them towards the lid, which is where you're fixing to be. So you don't want that. But we're just a little puff right there and a little puff right there. That's typically all you need for the entrance, just to knock the guard bees back a little bit and disrupt that communication. So now, with any hive, we are going to be prying right here. And then we're just going to give a little puff like that. No big deal. This good smoker usage doesn't have to be heavy-handed, but you need to get it right the first time so they're not communicating intruder, intruder, go get that person. And so we're just leave it there for a couple seconds. And now we're going to pull the lid off. And it looks like the bees have done a decent bit of growing. I think we're at the stage where we're going to start adding a gallon a week. Our honey flow has pretty much slowed down, and we need these bees to continue to draw. So I'm looking and seeing bees working on this frame here. I'm seeing them over to this frame. So they're about 8 frames, and that's exactly where I want to be, between 7 and 8 frames when I add the next box. We don't want them to run out of room here. And so what we're going to do, oh good, they're actually a little further ahead. They're drawing this outer one, and there's a little bit of feed in this frame right here. Now you'll notice some of these frames are older looking. We're reusing a lot of old frames, putting either power washing the foundation and putting some of our own beeswax on it, or putting it in a fresh bit of plastic foundation with wax on it. So they're doing a good job of drawing this. This is not a frame I want to pull up into the second box. We are going to hunt for that really quickly. And you see how I just lightly smoked across the frames. We're not trying to push down into the frames. We're just trying to lightly go across. It's going to be a lot of the defensive bees coming towards the top. So we're just kind of wafting just a little bit like that right there. What I want to find is a frame of eggs or young larvae, which is probably going to be somewhere in this region. So we're just going to skip ahead into here. And we are going to see if we can find what we want. I'm sure we can. Now, I want to point this out really quick, and I couldn't find my Kent Williams hive tool. It basically has this piece right here. And the J hook does not have that curve, but the Kent Williams does, but it has a kicker you can use to pry your frames up. And a lot of people love those hive tools. I like them a lot. I've just gone back to this because it's just kind of what you're used to and stuff. J-hooks can be great, but the problem I have, especially with the cheap Chinese ones, is they have way too big of a jump from a thin tip to a very thick piece of steel, and it makes it really hard to pry in between your boxes and lids and stuff, and it damages them a lot. And that's not what we're wanting at all. We don't want to damage our corners. We also want it to be easier on our joints. And so I really like a J-hook or any of them that have a slim tip to them. Now, the main problem I have with J-hook designed tools is they do pry well, but this is how they work. You go into here and you pry up against the other frame. And if you'll notice, I left a dent in this other frame right here. And that was with like almost no pressure. It was easy to move that frame because this hive isn't old. They haven't glued it down much. And if you start prying that after this has been in here for a year, and it's March, and there's been all kinds of propolis, and it's colder weather, you're gonna put a big indention. That's why I don't really like the J-hooks, is over time you can really crimp that and start putting a ding in those, and eventually it'll break there, and that's not fun for anyone. Opinions are like noses, and mine is that I don't want a hive tool that's going to damage the ears of my frames. And so I think the Kent Williams hive tool is better for prying frames because it spreads it out over a bigger surface area, or a traditional hive tool is best. But there's a lot of different models, and obviously they work. So see how we're just kind of moving those bees out of the way? Now I would already be done with this if I wasn't doing a video and explaining a few other odds and ends, but these are some pretty calm bees right here. Now look at that brood pattern. Man, these bees are growing. That's exactly what we want to see. It's not always this perfect. Sometimes you'll have a frame or two like this, and then you'll have some really spotty frames. I had a question about this just the other day, but this woman was in an area and they've been getting really good honey flows, and in days where there's just so much nectar coming in and so much pollen, they can't hardly keep the area clear for the queen. And it doesn't mean they're going to swarm necessarily always, but it does disrupt her perfect patterns sometimes. And once the flow chills out a little bit, it'll go back to being good. So sometimes a little bit of a spotty brood pattern is just due to a really good nectar and pollen flow. Now check this out right here. Many new beekeepers are going to be concerned about these queen cups and what they're seeing. This is okay. And we're also seeing a little bit of uncapped brood. Now if you'll look down in there, you'll see that there is some pink to purple-eyed pupae that's uncapped. And this is part of some hygienic behavior that bees exhibit. Sometimes they're detecting maybe a varroa mite, or sometimes there could be something else going on. There's other maladies in the hives, but sometimes they'll check it and then they'll just cap it right back over the next day. I've seen this many times before. This is the Golden West hive, and this is the Saskatraz hive, but both of these are bred for hygienic behavior. So keep in mind that is fine. These queen cups are also fine. The bigger the hive is, typically the more of these cups they will have. So in a really strong double deep colony, I could see 30 to 40 of these or more. As long as they're dry, there's nothing wrong with it. Now you can remove these if you want to, or you can leave them. I'm just gonna go ahead and yank that one out. You can see how they built it, and now it's down to the bare plastic right there. It's unlikely that they're going to draw that now because they did that. So they'll probably just put some more cups there anyways. That's just part of beekeeping. This comb is just fine. It's actually a great frame of brood, but this isn't what I want to put up top. I really want young stuff. The reason for this is the bees have to have pollen, they have to have nurse bees, and they have to have resources near young larvae because they require so many individual visits. One frame of brood like that, when it's in the larvae stage, is just going to take tens of thousands of visits. And so they have to have resources nearby to be efficient. So when you pull that up into the second box, the bees, being smart, are going to want to build comb and put resources near that. Now, this is a great example right here. Look at how these bees are looking at us from the top bars. And these bees are very gentle. Look at that. That's what the Golden West is bred for. But this is a good stage to use your smoker. And we're just going to lightly throw a little bit over the top, and just enough to push them down. That works really good. Okay. This also has a lot of capped brood, so we're not going to bother with that one. This also has a lot of capped brood. This looks like this is going to be the frame. Okay, there's the queen right there. I'm seeing a ton of eggs in here, and we have some brood that is emerging, so that's very normal. The hive operates off of pheromones, and so when the queen can detect the pheromones of emerging brood, she knows that there is space freed up. And so, again, it's all about efficiency. In a healthy colony, it's going to be able to run very efficient like that. So we want to be very careful because this frame has our queen on it. We definitely don't want to hurt her, crush her, or anything like that. So I'm going to take a frame of foundation. This is a triple wax because I think it's worth the extra wax in my opinion. Double wax should be the minimum that you get, and you have to be really careful of bad waxes. There's a lot of them out there. We're going to put this on the edge over here. We don't really want to disrupt the brood. You know, a lot of people will checkerboard at this stage. I don't like that. Now, when we're putting our frames back together, sometimes there's bees in between. You can smoke and try to get them out of the way so that we can prevent crushing any if possible. It can be very difficult to do that when the hives get super strong. So we're going to place this right into here. But if you'll notice, there hasn't been a lot of food frames. There is food in here, but there's not a lot of it. This is not good enough. And our flow has stopped. And that's why I was only doing half a gallon a week, is because we had a flow going on at the same time. And sometimes if the flow hits really hard, you can give your colony too much. But we're past that point in my region. I'm going to be bumping it up to a gallon a week per hive. So we want to put all of our frames back together, get it nice and even, just like it should be. And now we are going to take this frame right here and put it in the center of this one. We want to make sure that we don't crush our queen or anything like that. Okie doke. And she is hiding somewhere from me. This video is also about what not to do. And many times I get too comfortable. And you might do the same thing too. And this is how you can lose a colony. This is how sometimes you go queenless. This does not happen very often, but it did today. And I'm very thankful that you got to see it. This queen just dropped off of it. I wasn't slinging it around or doing anything crazy. And queens have very good abilities on gripping. They're very strong and very healthy. But this one just dropped off of the comb, just going from here to here. And that's why we have to be extra careful with the queen. Don't do what I did. Even if this is the ideal frame, maybe pick another one that's a little less than ideal. Or if you're good at picking up the queen with her wings, you can place her over there. If you find a queen in an inspection, having a nuke box can be really handy so that she's out of the way, and you take that frame, put it over in a nuke box, keep that closed up to where she can't walk out the entrance or something. And now you know where she's at. You don't have to worry about that. So we're going to grab our queen. Come here, you. Okay. Sorry. This is how you could put yourself in a bad situation. So this is not common, but it happens. All right, come on now. Come on now. I tell you what, you can't get them to stay still when you need them to, and you can't get them to leave when you need them to. All right, there you go. Now see, we need to get her out of the way because we don't want to crush her putting the next box on. So we're going to take this smoke, and we are just going to lightly go over all that, push those bees down. What an interesting event. And now we're going to place this box on top. And I have some feed for them. And we are going to be hitting them with a gallon a week now. And they definitely can take it, especially with no flow going on. They could probably take more than that. So we're going to come back and show you what that looks like after a couple gallons have been fed. And that will be really good. All right. Golden West, second box. We definitely need to get this drawn. And I just think a double deep size, or if you're doing mediums, 3 mediums is about the same as 2 deep boxes. That's a good size, especially for long winters. You need a lot of food. If this is full, there's around 60 pounds of honey up in here. And so we can get this quite heavy. There can be a little bit of food down below, and it's a good overwintering system. All right, now to the Saskatraz. So now we're going to get into the Saskatraz hive. Before we get into this hive, I want to talk about these gloves. I'm going to leave a link for these gloves and the hive tools that I think work best down below. They're super affordable and I use them every day. And primarily I use them because they offer a little bit of sting protection, but mostly because they keep me from getting propolis and beeswax all over my truck and car. And that's really helpful. A little bit of protection from stings is offered, but you can get stung through them. I'm really not worried about that as much as other things. Okay, so now we are in the Saskatraz hive. It doesn't look like it's quite as far along as the other. Okay. So we are going to pull this out of here. They are doing some drawing. Okay. We are seeing some good brood in here. Seeing a little bit of food coming in. We are going to go ahead and add space. They're a few days behind the other colony. And they definitely could use some feed. Definitely got to crank it up to a gallon. I'm seeing a good bit of eggs in here. And this is the perfect frame to pull up. I'm going to try to make sure that we don't have the queen on it so we don't repeat our earlier mistake. Beautiful looking larvae. Very nice. They definitely need more food. Our honey flow is pretty much over, and that is a big bummer. But it is what it is. It's over earlier than usual. Usually it's about the 14th, 15th of June, and it is like the 3rd or the 4th. Every year is a little bit different. Okay, we're just going to put this on the edge here. And what we can do is shake those bees off a little bit. So if the queen was on there, we got her off. Definitely. I'll set that there for a second. Definitely don't want to separate this brood out. Place all that together. Thermal dynamics are really important. Helping heat the brood, helping cool the brood. Okay, there we go. So now all we do is even those frames out and give them a lot of feed. It's going to take gallons of feed to draw all this out and get them where they need to be. My thoughts, to get both of these hives where they need to be with all the combs drawn and plenty of food in there, I'm probably looking at a minimum of 5 gallons a piece and probably closer to 8 gallons of 1-to-1. It's a lot of feeding the first year, and this is why it's ideal to get an early nuke or an early package. We got these a little bit later. I want to say a big thank you to Hilco for sponsoring this by providing these packages for these videos. But when I had this idea, I was a couple weeks later than usual. 2 weeks of natural flow can be a big deal. And of course, we're a couple weeks earlier in our plants development and production than usual. So between that, that's about a month difference. That's huge to what a colony can look like and how much feed is required. There's frost that can happen. Your location is different than my location. The best way to know is to see what's in the colony. And I've told you, we need at least 21 pounds of food on these colonies. We're not there. So we're gonna have to really pour the feed to them. Now that our flow's gone, you can kind of get away with less than 21 pounds as long as there's a consistent flow coming in. Even if they're not growing in weight, as long as they're maintaining, they'll still continue to go forward. But once that flow stops, they're gonna go backwards now if we do not continue to feed them, because they know what they have. So we're gonna be pouring the feed to them, a gallon a week, and I'll probably boost that up to 2 gallons after the next video. Okay, we're gonna put that on top. Now let's weed eat around the hives. So when we're mowing or weed eating around hives, it's really helpful to be fully suited or at least have a jacket and gloves on. Bees can react different from week to week, and if they're busy with stuff and it's a good time of the day and they're queen right and everything's good, sometimes you can mow around them with very little issues from the bees, and there's sometimes they'll come after you in squadron formation. And so what I would recommend for new beekeepers to do is, one, keep your bees away from the house, but whenever you're going to do that, smoke the entrances like we do before. You can smoke them a little bit harder in this case, just kind of get them a little relaxed. And then have that suit, and now we're going to begin to weed eat. Woo, that bee doesn't like it. Hey, thanks for watching our Beekeeping 101 series. Ask your questions, give us suggestions on what you'd like to learn in the next video, what you're struggling with, what you're curious about. There's so much to learn, there's so much still to show you. Thanks for following us, and if you haven't, hit that subscribe button and we'll see you in that next video.